What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. We're here doing a video live on the stream. It's going to be an analysis video. This one is for 10 a.m. and his team, who are 8-5 in Main at the moment. And we want to talk about a match they had versus Triumph, actually. So some pretty big fish. And I'm not familiar with everybody who's on Triumph. Well, actually, almost everybody except for one name's a little bit unfamiliar. But this is a game of 16-10. I think they kind of broke even on the half, and CT side are looking for some ways to improve on overpass. And this kind of content is obviously really, it's much more relatable for team building stuff. So hopefully this can be an instructive game just from watching the game and then figuring out what we can talk about to improve, or just what went wrong. Because sometimes, just because a team is in Main doesn't mean they're just like it was only mistakes. Sometimes it can be, you can get unlucky timings. A spray here or there just doesn't go right. But the full story requires a lot of nuance when it comes to wins and losses. So why don't we see, is it bad or unlucky to lose this game 16-10, or we're Triumph really playing that well, or what the actual answer was. The match here, we've got Viz. I actually, there's obviously it's a very strong team to go up against, but I think up until the halfway point, it felt like a very winnable game. Maybe a little bit on the CT side as well. So let's waste no time, and let's take a look at the CT side and figure out what we can do a little bit better. Figure out what exactly went wrong. And let me just make sure I'm on the correct scene here. Okay. And let me also make sure I have enough hard drive space. Okay. That's actually a really important one. All right. Cool. So what are we talking about when it comes to overpass? Or we're talking about a couple of things. Combination players on the A site, right? Your two guys who usually stick together. Your spawns sometimes here for the pistol round. So if you've got a really strong spawn out front, you can get this info on the cross. And yeah, someone can beat you slightly. I'm not exactly sure about the TCT. Like if the best T, I think the best T does beat the best CT spawn slightly to cross all the way out. But here, just showing, obviously, has caused tents to rotate around to try to get some info back. This obviously makes a lot of sense. We'll see the setup in the site. Nade can be released. Flash comes in. And honestly, holding in pit. I mean, this is really good. You guys wanted the B setup. Nades were already out. People look pretty good about how quickly you were ready to go ahead and throw those. So you got the rounds you wanted to. And I like how Tents went and got the guaranteed info that it wasn't going to be any kind of A setup, or there was no lurker left over as well, in which case you could have flanked. So far so good. Okay, 2 inside of stairs. 1 slightly spotting. Maybe you can have the fall miss here. You don't want this round to fall down, but you've got the close range MP9. Smoke to fall back as well. Plus stairs control. Should be totally good. Back line of defense. And a last kill. Okay, no problems here. And you do it while also bringing in a lot of money. So now we got full utility. We've got some early nades towards mid to get info. They jump through it. And Zenith is making this rotation all the way around, trusting the flashes here. And it looks like a kill could come our way, and it's kind of a bonus, so you're trying to close the distance with the MP9s, which is just fine. So now there's a real test, right? Because here you try an opening tactic, so what do we change up? I actually really like this. From frequency, it's the most natural rotation to long control. And Tense, you should be spotting long. You should be with him spotting long, I think. Would be better here on the sign probably. That would be most natural as well. So in this situation here, frequency doesn't have too much pressure on him, and you don't have to cross wide. So if this setup falls apart or gets a bit testy, I would say this is probably why And we'll see. You don't actually win that duel here. And now 10s, you're alone on the side and you end up dying. So that might have been a better spot to be standing for the setup in terms of a most natural setup for that situation. But the idea to take long was good. And almost got the kill playing off the smoke. But I think, yeah, in some ways, I mean, I feel like Overpass is very intuitive. So when we can see this round is that round is pretty impactful, of course, because now we're just on pistols. But I really like Overpass rotations and adjustments on CT side. I think they're fun, personally. We get anything out of this? No, it all falls. Okay, so no problem. 10 rounds here for Triumph. Let's see. Oh, actually, double save off that. So, listen, I hate to bring analysis down to economy sometimes, but when we look at the entire half in the scope of the entire half, we have to remember that, you know, you might get 7 or less rifle rounds and a half, and in this situation, it might be 6. So it can be one small thing that can make a world of difference, right? Yeah. So sometimes it does come down to a couple of small mistakes in really important rounds. It could be you know, the CS gods are unmerciful in that sense. You could do a little bit wrong and you could do 5 things right in a row and then one thing wrong and it could cost you 2 rounds. So that's just the name of the game, right? And that's why we just want to make sure we make less mistakes. Less mistakes over adding more stuff, because it's honestly less mistakes that are going to take you super far. Oh, a great flick. Fantastic stuff. And you've got the double setup on Monster. This is awesome. You guys have been really good at kind of reading the pressure towards B. You're going to see some stuff here. That is an incredible shot from B Wills. That's tough. I think we fell off our post to try to maybe rotate back. I'm not exactly sure, but it seems like it'll be inconsequential. We even got the headshot control as well, and 10s puts together too. This is awesome. I want to say Dan got a little bit unlucky. Of course, it's a nice angle with the smoke still up to be able to see the nades coming over Monster, and you should be favored on the first fight. So they definitely screwed up by coming through that right in that moment, and sometimes you're still going to lose the duel. That's the name of the game. Yeah, so I think that the setup was really good, and then someone left, and you still probably should have got a kill. But yeah, there's of course 2 people there that were in a pretty strong spot. It's another moment where it's just got to be thinking about, like, do we need to move? Because let's just say, just like one thing quickly, right? Okay, so like playing on this half wall is it's so versatile, right? It's a really, really strong spot. Yes, it's spammable, but you have so much room to move. You can fight and help Monster, and you can defend against short. And as long as you have a Monster player and they maybe don't know that, you can take like really serious hard angles like this and not worry about short. And your teammates have so much space to rotate into. So if we're in a spot like this, like we were in that last round, we have a setup this strong, we don't really need to give it up for almost anything, unless your A players need rotations. But in that position, it looked like you were reading the pressure properly, but still gave up the setup. Yeah, so just kind of knowing when you have a good spot, basically, was the only thing. Okay, so this is like, you know, overpass 101. You squeeze, you try to get info back. I don't mind this push at all. Looks like a timing is caught. You're going to fall back. You can hug the wall if you'd like to. Honestly, you don't need to fall back off of this position this hard. You're in a really, really good spot there, and you have a teammate watching the crossback, so you had some time. 40 seconds left, plus man advantage. You were not in a dangerous position, and if they chase you down, that would have only got them opt. So now we're a bit crowded on the A site, and here's the only thing I'll say about the space for rotations. Well, here it looks like it's fine, but to give an example from the last round, if you're playing spots like CT spawn and bank, and then you need rotations, then you don't give your teammates space to come in. So when you're playing more dedicated spots, you know, that's just why you don't want to always give them up. Okay, you try to, I think, try to just Hail Mary to get a kill, and you run the risk. You had one player here. If they got the kill, you would have been fine. Even if they don't, you're still 3v3. And now you trade down. I think we see an arm. Yeah, okay, but Cooper gets a kill from behind. Cooper gets another kill, and then this round is lost. I would have to take another look at the utility, but I feel like this just could have been a better retake. I feel like the position was actually pretty strong. 4v3, and sometimes you could go for a tactic where a disruptive tactic where you flash push and try to get the player who's on the bomb just in that moment. But those plays are sometimes a little bit gimmicky. Sometimes they're called for. Sometimes they're a little bit gimmicky. Sometimes you got to believe that you'll win, because if you don't believe that you'll win, you'll throw away a good advantage in what looks like an overconfidence round. But maybe you didn't believe in your retake grenades there, or maybe you didn't have a smoke to work with. I definitely saw a flash and a molly to work with in terms of the flash tactics. So here's another round that ends up resulting in a pistol to follow. It's again important to remember this. The consequence of 2 saves in a row, especially with the double save from the previous situation. That was one where Triumph would have had to would have been broke themselves, right? You think it's better to be aggro there? I don't think anything is necessarily wrong, but I see. Okay. Okay, so here's a new here's a bit of a new setup. In the bathrooms of the 2 riflers, and we don't have money for the op this round for Zenith, and Viz just wins AK to M4 basically. Like, they both headshot each other. That's a bit unfortunate. So this is where things usually get messy. So we'll see what happens. We've got this self-defense smoke on the A site. And frequency, they're actually just flashing all the way through it, man. These flashes are really brutal. They come through. They're kind of waiting for the push, but you eat every single flash there, and now you're in a very losing spot. I think this is a position where you have to save. And you have to save deliberately. Like, you don't want to lose a player in this position because you don't have another chance to win. Let's watch this round back, actually. Sometimes it's more about preventative measures than it is about reactions. When you see a situation like that, it's like, well, what are you supposed to do about, an absolutely amazing A-take with, like, all of the perfect flashes? I think the call here from Triumph is sick because they did it quickly. So they didn't give you time to go back and get info somewhere else, to push something, to use some kind of tactic, or, like, to get divider control again and smoke it. They just came up to the site and hit it right when one person was maybe walking off. So that was the really good move. So this is the straw that breaks the camel's back here. Just this one kill. It forces frequency back when he feels uncomfortable about his teammate getting killed inside of stairs. Actually, I don't know how he falls back in this situation, or if he tries to fight. Okay, but he sees B Wills. He doesn't want to peek that again. And there's a moment where he feels uncomfortable. So, okay, you actually answer back with both. So here's a spot where it actually would be totally fine to try to go up for your long setup again, especially since you went unnoticed. I really don't think you should second guess abusing that as many times as possible. And then there's a spot where, okay, look at this, all right? So if you went for long control this round, right? They don't know that because you actually got away on a good timing. And then here's a spot where if they're coming into the A site, you've given your team a lot of space to rotate in a little bit more freely. You also have the option to flank around bathrooms. You find out no one is actually fighting you from long, and you got 3 teammates in CT spawn coming up, and you would have had a much better chance in the retake. And here's a spot where you now have to save from one person dying on the site. So yeah, that was one thing where it looked like you were thinking about long, but then wanted to fall back. I think the decisions that are losing rounds are very palpable. I think in a good way, because they're obviously very easy adjustments. But I think it's pretty clear right now that if a team on T side is taking bathrooms, not hitting long on a split, you have to punish them by taking long. You have to punish them every time, because this is just it's like, it's kind of like an indomitable crossfire to have to deal with someone sitting here or someone who could potentially flank you, or someone who is just tucked waiting for an execute and then is denying their best post-plant position. Like if you're coming up through spawn like bank or coming through CT, for example, your teammate is long. It doesn't even matter if your teammate's doing anything. You know there's no T's there. So, you know, it makes it easier for you to actually focus on the other angles that are left over. So even just having that piece of map control, if your teammate sees nothing, that's still really valuable, as valuable as your teammate being very active. But it looks like it's not actually the end of the world in some of these rounds when you do lose an opening trade, and they're obviously putting tons of pressure on you to make you make, you know, uncomfortable decisions, which is just good play by them. But yeah, there were spots that you could have potentially pulled this back, and we're already staring in the face of 3 eco rounds because of 2 rifle rounds where there were a couple of kind of clear mistakes, I guess. Now here's a chance to trade this. Okay. And we have stairs control. We have support Zenith to watch the top of the stairs. So we've got this connection, which is very nice. And not the 2 monster setup, one back on the site, not playing together again, not connected. So, okay, not necessarily like bad to do this, but you know, if you've got no one here, let's say, if you're not creating a connection with your teammates, or you don't have someone on the pillar and someone's dedicated hard monster, you have to rely on Triumph fucking up bad to let you get the kill. It'll happen sometimes, but what would help a lot if you had someone pillar of this round or headshot that can also watch short the run out. Like, okay, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. You can hold this if you need to hold like deep short because your teammate is out in the open here. Okay, if your teammate's out in the open here, hopping down monster, whatever, checking out angles, then you need to like hold short deep so that they don't get fucked, right? But if your teammate is here playing this kind of like gimmick position, waiting, and in a good spot, if you don't do anything to bait for them, then they have every reason in the world to clear this. Otherwise, they're just playing badly, right? If you're here on the pillar, you can still have a similar effect watching short, and you don't actually need to watch like left side pillar or deep into short because your teammate's so tucked in deep, he's not going to get cleared for a long time. So if your position was played more in connection with his, to even just shoot a little bit, to fall back to pillar, like clear this out or play off this, or once again to play the half wall, to play with him, then one of you will get a kill. And maybe both of you stay alive. And if you get the first kill, then maybe you get like 4 because of this position, right? Then they can't even clear it. But with him up there and you down here, you guys were both basically 50-50 to die. But I think yeah, the idea of staying connected, I think, is really important. It's like these pairs on overpass especially. But yeah, if you can still get cleared in a spot like that, you know, you can still get cleared sitting up here looking into the wall. It can happen even if you're playing with a bait or whatever, because they have good protocols. But yeah, anything like barrels or the side of the pillar or the half wall where you have kind of vision of your teammate or like holding a hard crossfire where you don't also have to worry about short. Anything past this part of the site, then I think your teammate should be in a different spot. And yeah, so I think there's a lot there, which is great. There's 3 rounds basically where it's the setup either overlooked where you had a good setup and gave it up, or there was just simply a better setup where one person was in a good spot and one person wasn't. And we got this push again, but it's going to get punished. Wow, he snuck out very fast. Very fast. Yeah, they don't give you a lot of time to get some info back, but we do get a kill back actually. And oh, this is awesome. I mean, you guys fight for map control. I feel like I see you guys fighting for map control to come back and not just sitting around. And I think that's awesome. I mean, this is exactly what you want. And then we're upgrading. Of course, sitting outside monster is a little bit flawed, but the thing is that you're probably going to feel better about sitting outside monster than sitting in short in this position. You have a fast rotation up to stairs, but you're now watching for the monster take. Not huge confidence that it's not like a monster split. If they're coming up short and you're flanking from monster, I think you're going to feel a bit better about that. Your teammates can come through with a slow retake again and still play 3A in this spot. I think most of the time, if you watch Pro CS, they're going to be holding in this position where they do push monster. They're going to be holding here most of the time, in my opinion. This is the spot where you're like pushing short and you didn't really know. And here the A site falls down. Let me just go ahead and watch this again. Let me just see what happens on the A site, because you can still obviously lose a round with the correct stack, especially on A on overpass. It's not an amazing site to hold even with 3 people. Here is an issue. I would say I would be using this. I would be using this for a close position with a bait with the teammate, and then one person, like let's say frequency stays in the same spot, and then you play on the garbage can and you walk up close to it, try to get this info. And then Justin M. Justin M. plays watching like the left side of the Vider, like standing on the grass watching bathrooms. Then you're in a better spot. But like, yeah, see it. MP9 is the only one to get a kill, but it's also everybody in spots where you can get smoked out. So if anybody has this much space and they do a full exec, then they're expecting to be able to win duels versus rotators. But what you guys had was a lot of really early information, and then not really getting like advantageous positions on the A site to fight them. So the overstack was good, the info play was good, but the once again the spots could have been taking advantage of that info a little bit better. Now I can sympathize if you felt like you didn't have a lot of time to get into that position, but I don't know if that was the case. If you felt like you had more time there, then I would just start, let's just walk up. So if I have the MP9, let's try to escort me to like a super optimal spot. And maybe the kind of logic you can tell yourself is that if I don't do that, then this is what happens. That I have a very, very low chance of we have a very low chance of stopping a decent site exec. And if they have bathrooms control and they have nades, then they're probably going to go for like just some really good site exec, and you're not going to have a huge chance to win. But if a team is execing on you a lot, you want to play close spots, right? On any map, basically. You want to play in front of monster and overpass. You want to play close A ramp. You want to play under the positions that get flashbanged. You want the flashes to land behind you. You want the smokes to land behind you. You want to stop them in the choke point, because people don't nade right in front of their choke point, because that can stop your own exec. So sometimes a good counter is actually to play really close to the executes. If you think it's coming, your IGL feels it's coming or something, then call a setup where you're actually stopping the problem before it starts, getting really close. Okay. So after this league game, we adjusted. We have more dynamic set. We're more together. Okay, great. I think I've seen all of the right ideas, and there's not been a round where we haven't seen like there's not been a round in this game where there hasn't been, basically every position that you need to play has been played at some point or another. Maybe not the close bathroom setup, but I think it's, when we look at when to use them, I think that's the only thing. So I think that was really good. I think that was really interesting. Yeah. With the close, or with the A setups, if you're gonna have a player who's comfortable pushing like Fur or whatever, you can just let them push however they want. If it's gonna be Fountain or out to Playground, but this was one position where I think Zenith wasn't aware of how quickly someone could get there, and fair play. I honestly didn't realize that like B-Wills could be here as that quickly as well. So, but it's all timings at that point. So that's just probably gonna help to know that that's possible now. Do you think Blame F could be a better IGL than Glaive? I think Glaive is going to be the best IGL that ever touched this game until he retires. That's my prediction. It's probably not even a bold one. Okay. Okay, is there anything else? I think that was really good. Oh, your T side? Uh, I think we have to make that a separate one. Okay, hold on.